Wow, St. George and Bloor. Here we go. We're gonna walk south on St. George today. Beautiful day in the city. Beautiful day in the city. University of Toronto, I guess. Check out the stores here, shops. Right downtown Toronto on a beautiful day. It's about 18 degrees Celsius. Check it out. In the news today, I was just watching President Trump in Saudi Arabia. Whoa, what a craziness that was today. It's they had horse dragon, not a horse dragon, but a horse escort for him. All sorts of stuff. The Saudis really know how to do these things. I think it's a new prince they had. Check out these buildings. This new prince they have has been really kind of interesting. That building is either under construction or under destruction. Yeah, they really know how to deal with Trump, you know. They put special services for him, and what I thought was absolutely interesting is all the women who were bringing the papers for him to sign, and you know, I guess the deputies or who they are. I don't know if they're deputies or a receptionist or secretaries or assistants or somebody. None of them were wearing the crazy hijab that the Saudi women used to wear back in the day. Back in the day, the Saudi women had to wear the super hijabs. You know, they're like the Iranian women have to wear the hijab, like a modestly, easily done hijab. You know, something barely covers their hair and stuff. But the Saudis used to have to be like completely black. I remember back in the day in England, the Saudis were the rich people. Like, they used to come and shop and everything. All the women, you look at their women, they were all increasingly covered more and more, like all in black and only the eyes and that kind of job. So Saudis went from wearing the crazy super hijab to they had this blonde women walking around having Trump sign papers. You know, hoping Trump would enjoy his views, I guess, but like, you know, Trump's had all sorts of models in New York City. He's not gonna fall for a random woman. Anyway, and then another thing was interesting. After Trump made his speech there, I thought Trump was very mellow. Yeah, he wasn't supercharged like his rallies. He's very good at reading the room, and he just tries to match the room, you know? Like, if the room is kind of crazy, the fans are crazy, he'll go, he said crazy stuff, but I guess the Saudis are a little bit more conservative, right? They are, right? So he was a little bit more mellow, and at the end of it, the Saudis played the YMCA for him. I mean, in a couple of years back, like I would go back 10 years, like you wouldn't be able to play music in Saudi Arabia. Like, music was against the law. Dancing, blonde chicks in skirts, prancing around. There's this guy, the new Ben Laden. What is it, Ben Laden? The new Sultan of, I shouldn't call him Ben Laden, probably that's not a wrong. Salman Ben something. Ben means son of in Arabic, so it's like Mac, you know. So, I don't know, check out those. This is like the Robarts Library. Anyway, so this guy is really revolutionizing Saudi Arabia, it looks like. And you know, bought a whole bunch of planes from the Americans. This is a Robarts Library, famous library, but the decoration. What the hell is this one? Used bikes. I like this picture of this guy coming down the craziness. Famous library, UFT library. I read somewhere that the design is not very interesting. It looks like a jail. And they use this a lot for movies in America. If they want to shoot pretend it's like a jail movie, they use this building. Anyway, so my prediction is Iran's gonna make a deal with Trump, or vice versa. Let's walk on the edge. They're gonna be like making a Trump deal with Iran soon enough. I think at this point, this is my personal opinion, at this point, Iran being independent like that, just from all over the world, is probably doing better. I think all their Air Force jets and all that kind of stuff, they can do whatever they want. They're like getting American jets, they're copying American food. They're basically running wild with whatever they want to do. So I think if the Americans come in and tie them up with a deal and sell them some F-35s, I think the Iranian government's going to do worse, to be honest with you, because then they'll have to obey by all the American rules and regulations, and you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, if there's a protest on the street, then Americans are, oh, we're going to put sanctions on you, we're going to stop the visa. SWIFT payments, all that. Right now, the Iranians can do pretty much what they want. I mean, they have F-4 planes from 1960s, American planes, and they're just making parts for it at this point. Are these good parts? I'm not saying they're good parts. Maybe they're shitty parts, but they're just like, even Canada can't service its own F-18s. By law, you know, they have to send them to the US. But the Iranians seems to do whatever they want to do because there's no consequence for their actions. And they've been sanctioned so much that this really doesn't affect them, and they can circumvent around it if you got enough money, and you can bribe people. Everybody's bribable, right? Especially if you got cash. So I think he's going to make a deal with the Iranians, sell a couple of F-35s on the side. But remember, these F-35s are like BMWs, right? So you buy a BMW, you say X, whatever, X1 or something. The base model, check out these doors. Base model isn't that good. It's not that good. So the one that is custom made with proper seats, extra transmission, extra fuel injection, extra this, bigger tires, better rims, is much better than the basic level BMW. So these Americans are selling these F-35s to these countries. They're basically selling the basic model that are probably is not even as good as an old Iranian plane. I know, sounds kind of crazy what I'm saying, but they're not selling the Iranians the top-notch, fully loaded, the best avionics, with the best weapon systems, the best engine parts. And they're selling the, you know, the base model. And a base model F-35, I don't know. Which one is better, a base model F-35 or souped up F-16, F-4? I don't know. I'll go for the souped up anytime, just like vehicles, right? You know, you could buy a factory BMW and, you know, somebody with a souped up Mustang is gonna eat your lunch, man, eat your lunch. So, yeah. So I think there's gonna be a deal between Iran. The Iranians have to. And when that happens, I think a lot of the Iranians that are living outside Canada and United States, living in Canada and United States, are gonna be pretty upset. So, but in all Trump's Robarts library, I think Robarts was a mayor of Toronto. We should ask Steve, I don't know. I think not once Trump said he's going to do a regime change. I mean, most of Trump's base is against regime change in these countries and against wars in the Middle East. I mean, that's like 90% of Trump's campaign promise. No regime change, no funky wars. So I don't know when some of these Iranians that are upset that Trump's not going to war with Iran or trying to force a regime change, I don't know where they're getting this idea that Trump wanted that in the first place. I find a lot of people, when it comes to politics, they just listen to the hearsay news of like they listen to a news station and then they try to repeat what they thought the guy said, which is in the first place probably wasn't that accurate in the first place. Then they try to repeat it to their friend or repeat it on the Twitter or post it on X or something, but they're not really covering it correctly. And before you know it, it's like that telephone game. Before you know it, by the time an average person sees that message, it's totally changed around, right? I think in politics, if you want to really know what's going on, you should really watch the original speech of whoever's saying in full content, not just like a little bit of it either, because like when there's a little bit of it, they usually chop the pieces and on its own doesn't make sense and it's totally bogus. You want to be listening to the guy's speech at least 2 or 3 times full on. When he came to Pierre Poilievre, our own elections here in Canada, woohoo, which we did fantastic. We won the whole thing. You know, like you go to a couple of rallies and you just like pay attention for, you know, his speeches were like 20 minutes long. It's not that long, man. But average person nowadays does not have attention span for more than 2 or 3 seconds. You're not even already not listening to this video. I can say whatever I want because most people are not going to be listening at this point. I could say, Pierre Poilievre won the race. He's the prime minister. You wouldn't know because you're not even listening. You passed out a while ago. So yeah, if you watch the whole thing and just, you know, then you know what's going on. Yeah, Trump never ever said once, is it going to change the regime in Iran? Never once he said that. But a lot of people assume he said that for some reason. But anyway, so I think My prediction was it's going to be a deal and both sides are going to claim victory. Interesting, hanging there by itself. It's like a diving board. That is a swimming pool. And a lot of people are going to say, he backstabbed them. And I already noticed a lot of Iranians turning their back on Trump, like super supporters who were like supporting him. You know, that's what happens when you support somebody because of one policy. You don't really like them. You just like one thing they said. Well, you know, if you have to make a deal, sometimes you have to change your positions a little bit here. I mean, if you're really stuck on your position making a deal, you're not really going to make a deal with anybody because they're going to say one thing, that's a cool shoe. And then you're going to say something else and it's just going to break up and you go to war. You have to be flexible. You have to sometimes ask for a big ask and then back it down, right? Like you're going to big ask. You're going to take down all your nuclear weapons. But then when it comes to negotiations, you're like, okay, you can have some nuclear weapons as long as you're not mean or something. So he has to do something like that to make a deal. Check out these buildings here, very cool. We'll see. And also another thing what I noticed about all of this Trump and all this prime minister and stuff, you don't know what they're doing while they're making the deal. They're not going to report to you everything. These places are all closed, man. They used to be open. I'm like, oh, this one is done too. Yeah, they look open, but that pizza place open. This is new. They're not going to tell you what they're actually doing while they're making a deal, because that's not going to work, because they're bluffing. You know what? When you go buy a car, when you're going to buy a used car, okay? You have something in your mind. You're not telling the guy. That guy's not telling you. He's going to see the manager. He's going to ask his manager for okay. He's going to sell you the rust proofing. You're going to try to get a better radio. I'm dating myself. So these deals on these nuclear and all that country stuff, it's even more complicated. They're not going to tell you minute by minute what they're trying to do or if they're telling the truth or not, right? You're not going to find this stuff out till like much, much, much later, like 5-6 years later. So if you trust your leader, you trusted enough to support him and vote for him, then while the negotiations are going on, you should just be like, all right, I'm going to give him a chance. And that's what the left does, right? The left, they get a leader in, they put Trudeau in, they all support him. They take Trudeau out, they put Carney in overnight. They don't even ask who this guy is or what does he look like, what's his past, how many times he visited any islands. They don't care. They support him right away. So you got a bit of a loyalty. When you got a loyalty, you win. When you don't have loyalty and you backstab your own leaders, your own kings, you know, then you lose. You're never going to win, because one part of you know, winning is you got to follow the leadership. Even if the leader is making a mistake, during the fight you cannot disobey them, or just, I mean, again, sometimes you can, but like in case of Trump, for example, like if you supported him in the first place and he's making a deal right now, you don't know what's going on. Like, you're not in the room. You have very little experience of what's going on. So for you to try to knock the deal, or it's probably you just don't have enough information. You will never have enough information, because it's all like a chess game. You're all trying to outdo each other, right? But it's very interesting. Some people get irritated by the politics and social media, and I find it it's like to me it's a game. To me it's a fun game, and you can predict stuff, and if your predictions come true, hey, how are you doing? These guys are digging the whole thing up. Yeah, see if your predictions come true, how close you were to the truth, were you guessing right, how far off you are. And a lot of times I'm wrong, and then you learn from your mistakes. You're like, I was wrong about this, I thought. And then you revise your thinking, revise what you're reading, revise what you're researching for the next time. So, you know, if you fail a few times, you get tricked a few times in politics, after the third or fourth time, you should be very good at it. If you're not good at it after the third or fourth time, politics game isn't for you. You might as well go back to watching random reels on YouTube and TikTok of girls dancing, or boys, or, you know, funky stuff. We're back on the bloor. So I did a loop. I went down St. George, and here's a lounge, Royal Lounge. Whew. How clever is that to name yourself a lounge? All right. We're approaching Chrystia Freeland's old office. She's apparently been re-elected and repositioned as the transport minister. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like that job, you know. I mean, a transport minister, what do you have to do? I mean, she has no experience. I mean, she just knows how to go fast. I mean, that's enough experience to be a transport minister, just going fast. You know, I've never had a speeding ticket, knock on wood, but I guess that excludes me for that job. But, you know, I can definitely learn to drive fast. It's kind of interesting. I wonder what the job of a minister of transportation with no experience, I wonder what that requires. I mean, you have people and advisors and stuff. Like, she's just a figurehead, right? Yeah. They have other people that runs it, and they're doing the actual work, installing traffic cones. And so, well, we need to dig here. We need to dig here next week. And we're going to put a couple of cones there. Yeah, those people are doing the actual job. And she's just like, I'll go on TV and shake a little bit. Christy, baby. Office right here. Thanks for joining for this quick walk. Walk and talk about Saudi Arabia. Oh, let's check out this homeless guy there. Wow. Right across the street. Noticed a lot more homeless around in the city. There's a whole bunch of stories about homeless people with fabricated signs going around that they're doing fakey stuff. With the van, they come in, you know. Ooh, almost. Sorry. But there's a lot of people like sleeping on the street like that are legit. So some homeless people are legit, they need help, and some of them are scamming you. So you got to figure out which one. Let me know if you can figure out which one is which. Thanks for watching. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. There's Freelance office, old office. I think she left that place. She's going to go somewhere away from traffic so nobody can protest her. I would do it over her. I'm going to stay on the street, popular. Everybody's going to protest outside my office. So, all right, guys, catch you in the next one. Whoa.